Joining us now to discuss, CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller and Jamil Jaffer, the former counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for National Security. John, let me start with you. Some are blaming local officials for failing to secure Bourbon Street. The incoming New Orleans City Council president said they need more federal resources, and he told CNN he was frustrated with the FBI. Take a listen.
Very troubling to many of us that during the FBI briefing yesterday, it was made public that this individual posted on social media on places like Facebook well before the attack that he intended to do something and that this was not flagged.
Clearly, there's a lot of blame flying. What's your takeaway on the security failure?
My takeaway is that the city council president isn't paying attention. He's talking about the briefing where Chris Rea, the deputy assistant director of the FBI, talked about 5 audio and video posts to Facebook that occurred between 1:29 a.m. and 3:02 a.m. when the attack was at 3:15 a.m. I'm not sure who he believes from the FBI would be sitting on a random Facebook account of somebody who was not in the threat matrix at 3 o'clock in the morning in time to turn that around. But Jake, I think what we're also seeing here is New Orleans officials are a little uncomfortable about the fact that they had plenty of warnings coming out from DHS and FBI about ramming attacks. We saw an actual ramming attack before the holiday season overseas, and that they had a giant crowd in a narrow street and did not do enough to secure it if you were securing it from a ramming attack. Now today, the FBI, DHS, and National Counterterrorism Center put out a law enforcement bulletin to all their local and state law enforcement partners saying that the FBI, DHS, and NCTC are concerned about possible copycat or retaliatory attacks, pointing out that during the surge of ramming attacks we saw in 2016 and 2017, and Jake, you remember, when I was the head of counterterrorism in New York City, we had such an attack on the bike path on the West Side Highway, ISIS-inspired, which caused us to make changes. That because of that, when there is a successful ramming attack, particularly in the West, that it may inspire more. So what they're saying to 6,000 local law enforcement partners that the FBI director had on a call today is we really need to look at further locking things down beyond the warnings they gave before the holidays.
Yeah, and Jamil, there's renewed concern, whether copycats or not, that there are going to be more of these low-tech ISIS or Al-Qaeda-inspired lone wolf terrorist attacks with simple things like a car or maybe something that's very easy to get in the United States, a gun. What can the Trump administration and what can state and local authorities do to try to get ahead of it?
Look, it's a really tough problem. When you've got people who are committed to attacking others, willing to give up their own lives to do it, and do it in a low-tech way where they're killing a relatively small number, 15. Any one innocent dead is too many. 15 dead is terrible, right? But if you're conducting one of these types of attacks, it's very hard to combat. Now, the ways you can go around, get around it is, one, try to identify these people ahead of time. That means surveillance, right? That means identifying these people. We have a lone wolf authority that used to be in law, expired 4 years ago. Congress failed to reauthorize it. We have Section 702 that allows us to identify foreigners located overseas, terrorists and spies and the like. That's going to expire once again in just a few months from now, extended by Congress just for a short period. That needs to be reauthorized. But that's not it. Besides the intelligence, you need to be able to action it. How do you identify the actual real threats from all the noise, as John Miller was just talking about? It's a very difficult problem, not an easy one to solve.
Yeah. All right. Jamil Jaffer and John Miller, thanks to both of you. Appreciate